have a sip and tell me what you think. And then everybody took a sip, and then they immediately spit it out, and they're like, what the is that? What did you just give us? Sometimes when they do that to me, I go, that's wine. And we're back with another episode of the show that you've all been waiting for. Welcome back to Getting Sober ... Again, my name is Jay, and today we're going to talk about alcohol tastes terrible. But first, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to this channel and giving it a thumbs up at some point. Just do it now. And then also to leave a comment for either me or for somebody down below. I greatly appreciate your help in aiding the comment section, because as this channel continues to grow, I can't possibly get to everybody's comments, and you are a different person of possibly a different generation, of different life experience and perspective. So I greatly appreciate all of the knowledge and the wisdom that you have to help improve this channel and to help make me a better person and help to make this a better community. So thank you in advance. Comment below. All right, so today's topic is going to be about alcohol. Okay, alcohol tastes terrible. If you agree with that, comment below. Just that'll be your first prompt. And again, there's no limit of how many times you can comment. You can comment a bunch of times. You can comment throughout. I'm going to bring up. I talk for like 20 minutes at a time. I talk about a bunch of different things over 20 minutes. So if you agree with anything or disagree with anything, if you want to provide some constructive criticism, or if you think that there's a cool article that you read or something, or another YouTuber, a video that you think that might progress this topic, always feel free to comment below. I'm always learning. We're always learning, right? We learn until we're dead, right? So that's that. But what inspired this is a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to bring up my Patreon channel I'm going to try to do it for 30 seconds. Okay, here we go. 30 seconds. Part of being a Patreon subscriber is you'll get to make suggestions for future episodes. And a lot of you know that I have probably like 100 episodes backlogs. But if there's an issue or topic that's interesting to you specifically, not only will you have one-on-one communication with me, but you can also suggest future topics for future episodes. So there's that. And then also too, you get yourself a cool Getting Sober Again mug, which I'm going to order one for me today so that I'll get it and I can show it to you in future episodes. It's actually black letters on white. It's the opposite of this one. Only I have this one and like one other person. So shout out to that person. You know who you are. And then, so let's talk about today's topic. Today's topic came from, I went to the bar again last night, but I play pool. You know, I play pool. So a man walks into a bar and doesn't drink. The end. All right, welcome back. So I walked into the bar. I go to the bar. Everybody knows that I don't drink anymore. Was that an easy thing to do? No, you can't do it overnight. Like nothing, no change really happens overnight. But for the most part, when we're talking about change, especially slow change, creating habits, they say it takes 21 days to create a habit and 90 days for it to become permanent. Is that the same recipe for everybody? No, it's not. But it's a very good guideline. And for me, I talked about in yesterday's episode. I talked about in yesterday's episode. Yesterday was my 5 months sober mark, and I talked about creating new habits, and I talked about where I was in my journey. And with the first 21 days or so, like it was still kind of like a rough patch for me. I tried to go into the bar, and I was like, I just can't do it. I think like in my first 3 months of sobriety, the first 90 days of sobriety, which be on the lookout. If you haven't yet, hit the little bell icon so that you're getting alerts for when I put new episodes out. So far, my routine has become, because of your viewership, I've been able to put out videos every Monday through Friday or something like that, Tuesday through Friday or whatever. I talked about how I wasn't exactly ready to go back to the bar in the first 90 days. So the first 3 months, I wasn't ready to go back. I wanted to go back, but I was strongly of the opinion that I really needed to get stuff done. I started taking business classes, which I'm just about finished with, and I was really kind of tackling my to-do list. That was my strategy that really helped me out. Like tiring myself out, getting through the day, knowing that I put the most amount of effort into each day, right? So when they say seize the day, I was seizing the day. I seized almost every day, except for when I had to take naps, right? Because I was seizing a little too hard. But the first 3 months, I wasn't really ready to go back to the bar. And I tried. And it was a little too tempting for me. It was still like, when I was going to the bar, I was very clearly having cravings. And you might say like, well, how do you know what a craving is? Well, a craving is obviously, it's when you think like, I just want a shot, or I just want to have a shot and a beer. I just want to do what I've always done here at this place. The bar, when you walk in, the bartender's like, beer and a shot, and you're like, oh no, I don't drink anymore. And also to be mindful of like how you approach it. If you do find yourself trying to go back to a bar and trying to go back to socializing, you may be trying to go back to socializing because of COVID. You may have done your due diligence, whether or not COVID is dangerous as they said. Maybe you did your due diligence and you stayed home. Maybe you didn't go out. Maybe you didn't socialize. Maybe you didn't have social gatherings. And now you're just trying to get reaccustomed to being around other human beings. Or maybe you're getting sober, again, and you're trying to reestablish how to be social in a bar environment. And if you agree with that, comment below. Maybe you're getting used to like, well, so it's gonna be April tomorrow. So it's gonna be April and then it's gonna be May. And then it's going to be warm weather. It's going to be summertime again. And we're going to be doing backyard barbecues. We're going to be hitting the beaches. We're going to be doing hikes. There's going to be Labor Days, Memorial Days. There's going to be 4th of July's. There's going to be all kinds of reasons to drink, right? There's going to be a new sports season every season. There's going to be a playoff and there's going to be a championship. There's going to be weekends. There's going to be brunches. There's going to be promotions. There's going to be birthdays and there's going to be funerals. There's going to be all kinds of reasons and temptations to drink. So, what do you do? What are you going to drink instead? How are you going to handle yourself? You know, have you been able to give yourself the time and the space that you need instead of reflecting on what you can't do? I can't do that anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't drink anymore. It's like, well, I want to do we're going to have our draft lottery, and it's just what we normally do. And we get I would get a 24 pack, and Jim would get brats, and there would be steaks and the grill, and so now I can't do that anymore. It's like, you can still do all of that. The only thing that you would not be doing is just drinking alcohol. You could even still bring a 6-pack. I get one thing I keep forgetting to mention in all these other episodes is I understand the peer pressure sucks, right? And I'm not a big sports fan. But also too, I'm not one to be pushed around. I'm not one to be influenced by other people. I'm typically the person who influences other people, right? I'm usually the one that buys the drinks, buys the shots, or shows up with drinks or, whatever. And I'm usually the one that's twisting people's arms to getting them to do stuff. I felt like if I could use my powers for evil, I could definitely use my powers for good, right? And so in that, I recognize that peer pressure is a thing. I know that for some of you, maybe some of your friends are more crass than my friends. And you may find yourself showing up for game day with a 6-pack of non-alcoholic beer, and you might be met with a very specific expletive. You may have a whole room of people calling you a variety of expletives. And that sucks. I get it. I live in a very liberal area. This is a very diverse area. I live in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. In Cleveland Heights, Ohio, we live right by the Cleveland Clinic. We live by three very expensive colleges. Our neighborhood is basically African American, Jewish, Asian, white. Almost in that order. And, it's pretty diverse. And we have the art museums are over here. We have the Institute of Music, the Institute of Art, the Natural History Museum, the other museum I forgot what I went to, the History Museum. There's all kinds of arts and culture here. And I don't necessarily have to worry about that. But also too, I just don't worry about those people in general because I try not to surround myself with garbage people. And I'm not calling your friends garbage people, but you definitely know some garbage people. We all know some garbage people. And in an earlier episode, I talked about protecting your energy. Are you protecting your energy? Are you doing what you need to do to protect your energy? And if you are, awesome. But a lot of us aren't, because a lot of us, we get that FOMO, we get that fear of missing out. It's but I still want to do the fun stuff. I still want to go fishing and have a 6-pack. I still want to go cabrewing. It's who wants to just go canoeing What's cabrewing without the brews, right? What's going to the beach without the alcohol? What's doing that? It's like, well, it's just normal life. Turn off the alcohol brain for a minute. And we get so conditioned to thinking that this is just the way that it is, that we forget things like alcohol tastes like shit. It took me 10.5 minutes to get back to the point of today's episode. Like, when was the first time that you tasted alcohol? How old were you? Here's a prompt. Pause the video and answer this question. How old were you when you first tasted alcohol? And what did you think when you first tasted that alcohol? I may have loosely mentioned in a previous episode, I think that the first time I tasted alcohol was, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it was right when I came back from the hospital. I think I had just gotten stitches or something. I think I had just gotten stitches in my face. Because when I was 3 years old, I was training to be a mixed martial arts champion. No, but I had an accident. I went face first into the ground, got stitches, came home. I was like 3 or 4 years old, and my dad gave me a sip of his Genesee beer, and I thought to myself, this tastes like shit, and I'm never gonna drink this. I don't know how you drink it. I'm not even tempted to drink it. I don't even want any. So that was my first experience with alcohol. And then my first, and I out of curiosity, because we were all curious, about the world around us and language and how things work and what you can do and what you can't do. And, I remember, I remember tasting, we always had like rum in the house when I was a kid, and both my parents drank rum and drinking their Diet Coke. And I remember thinking like, why would anybody drink Diet caffeine free? And it's like, oh yeah, caffeine free. There's no caffeine in it. If there's no caffeine in it, oh, then they won't be up all night, and then they could just go to sleep and it'll knock them out. Like, oh, okay. Remember the old caffeine-free Coke labels from the gold ones from the 80s? It was like, I think, red lettering on the gold labels. But it's like, that's what I remember, because that's what I was exposed to. I remember going to the liquor store and my parents would get like the Bacardi or whatever, the rum bottles, and I would go into it was just like a normal thing. And a side note about that, it's like, for you parents out there, be mindful about like what you're exposing your kids to, because what you're going to end up doing, regardless of whatever it is, whether if it's racist behavior or if it's alcoholic behavior or if it's other dangerous behaviors, what are you going to end up doing with your children? You're going to end up normalizing that behavior. Alcohol was normalized for me when I was a child, so I grew up with it. I grew up watching my parents drink, and then mostly my dad, but then it became kind of taboo in our house. It became, obviously, it was it was a problem. It was like almost all of the times that the cops showed up, there was alcohol involved. Almost all the times that I had to talk to the police, alcohol was involved. Whenever there was danger, there was arguments, there was fists or pots and pans flying, there was almost always there was alcohol involved. Whenever there was an argument, whenever there was a fight, whenever there was a breakup, when somebody was getting kicked out of the house, or when somebody had to sleep on the couch, alcohol was almost always involved. I'm just guessing. Maybe it wasn't always the case, but it was probably almost always the case. Almost all of the terrible times in my life have involved alcohol. And you would say like, well, a lot of the good times were, involved alcohol too. I get it. But when we have something like alcohol being normalized, when you saw great granddad doing it, and then your granddad doing it, and then you saw your dad doing it, and then you have like you have all this generational momentum and all this generational trauma behind you, that somebody has to put the foot down to it. Either you're going to pass it on to your kids, or you're going to be the one that's strong enough to stop it, right? And I get that, like, from generation to generation, it's like, I mean, if I worked down at the docks, I'd probably be an alcoholic too. If I was working in a coal mine 16 hours a day, I'd probably be an alcoholic. This is a good time to be alive, and I want to remind you of that. And sometimes we just need a subtle reminder to remember that times are pretty good. When I talk about praying from time to time in these episodes, and one of the things I try to do is show gratitude and be grateful for what I do have in this life. I was praying today and showing gratitude for the fact that, like, I live in a time right now where there is not a world war happening. The world is not at war right now. It's not to say that there isn't war happening, that there aren't people dying innocently in the world, but like where I live, there's no war happening. I don't have to worry about bombs if I'm going to exist in the morning, or if my family's going to exist in the morning. Other than an accident, I don't have to worry about that. I live in a time where almost everybody has a house. I live in a time where we have supercomputers in our pockets, at our disposal, to look up any information that we need to look up. or to watch any of our favorite YouTube channels that we want to watch, right? That we have indoor plumbing, that we have electricity, that we have refrigerators, that we don't have to worry about our refrigerators breaking and having to go down to like the ice mill and getting ice to keep our stuff, like there's so many conveniences. And yet we still find a way to be sad or depressed or anxious about what's happening in our lives. And I get there's a lot of reasons to be anxious or depressed about what's going on in life, but I just want to remind you that you're also surrounded by a lot of modern miracles, a lot of things that are making our lives very convenient, and a lot of things that taste way better than alcohol. Alcohol was invented, the first signs of alcohol, about 7,000 BC. And I like to imagine do like little boardroom meetings, like in my head, like just for fun. Like, what was it like the first time that somebody was like, that since somebody invented alcohol, and they're like, all right, listen guys, so I want you to try something and I would like for you to keep an open mind about it. So this liquid over here, it was kind of an accident. I kind of left it sitting on the shelf and somebody was like, raise their hand. They're like, what's a shelf? And you're like, never mind. So I left it sitting over in a dark corner, and 2 months went by and I kind of forgot about it. And out of curiosity, because, I was kind of feeling lazy that day, I didn't want to have to go all the way down to the lake and worry about getting eaten by a lion. I decided to drink the liquid that came out of the vase and see if it tasted, if I could just drink it and see what would happen. Lo and behold, I drank it and I felt pretty good. A couple of hours later, I was telling jokes, and then somebody raised their hand. They're like, what's a joke? And you're like, never mind. And so, again, I just want you guys to keep an open mind, and I want you to try this thing. I don't really know what it's called. I'm just going to call it alcohol. I don't know. So have a sip and tell me what you think. And then everybody took a sip, and then they immediately spit it out, and they're like, what the is that? What did you just give us? That tastes terrible. There's so many different things. I would rather go down to the lake right after a buffalo, shat in water, and drink that water instead of drinking this again. Oh, I see what you're talking about that feeling. Did you kind of feel like you wanted to do this with your teeth? And maybe, I don't know, maybe that was the invention of alcohol. Who knows? But there are so many different things that taste better than alcohol, right? And so like when I went to go play pool last night, my new routine has been like, I've been going to go like get a milkshake. And now I get the milkshake and I walk in there and I'm just like, and I feel so proud of myself. I'm just like, this tastes so much better than non-alcoholic beer. And it's basically the same price. And there's more calories, I understand. And there's also more sugar, I understand. But alcohol tastes like shit. It's like we go to the bar, and if you have a mixologist, I know most people just have like bartenders, and you go to your bartender, your mixologist, and they're shaking and they're stirring and they're adding a little splash of this, and they're lighting some stuff on fire, and they're smoking some things, and an orange peel and a lemon and lime wedge and whatever else, and a cherry on top and some grenadine or whatever, and they're trying to make this thing that tastes like shit not taste like shit, so you can tolerate drinking it. If you drank anything else, like if I took a sip of this coffee and then I was like, oh yeah. Everybody at work would be like, why does he drink that? It's clearly causing him pain. He's suffering through every sip and is not having a good time. It would definitely be raising some red flags. And I get that like what we put ourselves through to experience drinking alcohol, it's not the most pleasant. It's kind of like a bad relationship, isn't it? And that's going to be a future episode for this channel. So stay tuned for that. So with that, I want to wish you good luck on your journey. And don't forget to comment below and leave this video a thumbs up. And I will see you in the next video.